The hardened plaster cast fitted snugly into the 5 matching sockets. There was a soft thud, then silence.
I had messages waiting to be played.
You have 3 messages.
Hey, Collard, it's me, your favorite editor. Guess what? I'm gonna give you a second chance. I need somebody to write the TV column. Pays lousy, so what's new? If you're interested, drop by the office. In fact, drop by the office anyway. We have to talk, Nico. That story of yours I spiked. It won't go away. You've made some dangerous enemies out there.
Hey, Nico, it's your old pal. I mean, your new pal, George. Whoa, Ireland. It's a whole different country. And I got some amazing news for you. Gem of a story, in fact. Oh, gotta go. Yeah, fella here's got a drink lined up for me. See you tomorrow, Nico. Slonsha. Yep, only here for a day and I'm speaking the lingo like a local.
Mademoiselle Collard, this is Imelda Carchon. I wanted to thank you for being so understanding when... Come to lunch, why don't you? Tomorrow. I might have more news. There's a Monsieur Merlon coming to see me this evening. He says he knows why Pierre was murdered. In fact, he'll be here shortly. I shall let you know what he says. Goodbye, dear girl. Till tomorrow.
Merlin? Oh my God! Merlin's the killer. I'd better get over there and warn her now. When it came to being two-faced, Imelda was up there with the best. I owed her nothing, but I couldn't just let her die. I arrived to find the Palais Royale courtyard deserted. I only hoped that I'd beaten the assassin here. I had to warn Imelda before it was too late. The intercom system wasn't working. Bad sign. Somebody had cut the wire. Locked? No way was I going to break through a door like that. Just your average modern art retaining wire. Fixed tight, presumably to stop critics stealing it. Who else would want to? I unhooked the first wire. I released the second wire. Even with both wires removed, the statue remained upright. If I could deconstruct this, I could deconstruct anything. The window had been repaired with industrial plastic sheeting. The plastic sheet was thick and strong. I'd need more than my hands to tear it. My God, I'm too late. Imelda. Oh no.
Nico?
Don't worry, you're going to be all right.
You know that isn't true.
It was Merlin, wasn't it?
Dressed as a cavalier. How absurd. You came to warn me, didn't you?
I must be crazy.
Let me see you, Nico.
All this time you were just using me. Which one is the real Imelda?
You are an extraordinary girl. Thierry would have been so proud of you.
You didn't know my father.
So like him. Something about the eyes. I wish we'd had time to get to know each other.
She was gone. She cheated me, lied to me, used me. But why? Even in death, Imelda looked the same. Beautiful, inscrutable. The Ice Queen alone in her ice palace. Around her neck was a locket. I opened it. Inside was a tiny gold key. I took the key. I had to leave. I knew I could never return. It was the key from Imelda's locket. The box was carved by my father. It never had a key. The elephant on the lid was a perfect match to Carchon's. I took out the key. I couldn't believe it. Imelda's key opened my father's box. I dreaded what I was going to find inside. It was a photograph of Imelda. But why here? In my father's box. I felt as if a black hole had swallowed me up. Imelda and Carchon grinning. While behind them a village was being razed to the ground. Its people butchered. And there, next to them, staring out at me across the years, my own father. There was a letter. I feared there was even worse to come. Hotel St. George, Algiers, Friday. My darling Thierry, by the time you read this, you'll be safely out of Africa. You need not fear. Pierre and the organization do not know who you are really working for, or about us. Did you think I would betray you? I could not. You wanted me to leave him, but I don't have your courage. I know too much of what has been going on here. They would find me and they would kill us both. Enjoy your life in Paris, Thierry. Your life of honor, of patriotic duty. Do they give medals to spies? No, they'll just give you a phony job in an embassy somewhere. I could never share that with you. Imagine me, a diplomat's wife. So I must stay here with Pierre, the two of us bound together by what we have done to this country. Au revoir, my love. You will be in my heart until I die. Imelda. Suddenly everything made sense. My father had been working undercover for the government. He was one of the good guys after all. He and Imelda must have fallen in love. She'd found out who he really was, so he had to leave. It had broken her heart, but she had never revealed it to anyone. I knew I couldn't either. Whatever he was doing, he'd had good reason to keep it secret. I decided I would respect that and tell nobody. I knew it was George. For a moment I was tempted to pretend that I was out, or ask him to go away and come back later. But then... Come in.
Hello, George. So, where did you stay last night?
At McDevitt's. I got to drinking with Doyle and a couple of the guys.
That explains why you look so ill today. Did you get any sleep at all?
Not much. I had to share the room with another guy.
Did he snore?
Hardly. He was dead.
And you say Pigram has disappeared?
Without a trace. But my visit wasn't a complete waste of time.
Pigram's gem?
The Templars' gem. Whoever Jacques Marquet is, he's in for a disappointment.
Jacques Marquet?
He's the guy who should have collected the gem from Fitzgerald.
What are your plans?
I want to find out who, what, or where Montfaucon was. All I've got to go by is the name and a picture of a hanged man. Do you want to look after the gem?
No, George. I'd be too tempted to sell it.
Let's take another look at the manuscript. There's a guy with a sword and a bull. Between them is a gem supported by a tripod. There's a woman looking at her reflection in a mirror, but the reflection... A knight with a crystal ball. The knight's scroll through... There's a guy...
What are your plans?
I want to find out who, what, or where Montfaucon was. All I've got to go by is the name and a picture of a hanged man. No way. Do you want this photograph back?
No, you keep it. I can always make another print.
I can't sit here all day, much as I'd like to.
Okay. Don't forget to look for Lobinot at the Kron Museum. And why don't you see if Rousseau has heard anything?
Okay. Anything else I can do for you while I'm out? Shopping, a trip to the laundromat?
Just take care of yourself.
I so much wanted to talk to George about everything that had happened, but I knew I never could. My father's connection to Africa would have to remain a secret forever. His bravery would be known only to the government and to me. Revealing it would just damage his memory. People would take the story and twist it. Before long, he would be the villain and Carchon would be the hero. I know how they do that. I'm a journalist.
Sergeant Moo?
Yes.
I'd like to report an assault.
Yes, monsieur? Where is the victim?
I'm the victim. I've been harassed by a pair of thugs.
I see. And where did this alleged assault take place?
Outside the Hotel Ubu. They stopped me as I was leaving and went through my pockets.
Could you describe the suspects, monsieur?
One looked like a gorilla, and the other looked like a weasel. Their names are Flap and Guido.
Bon. I'll get them this time.
Have you heard of a man called Marquet?
Yes. He used to be known as the Mole of Montmartre. I heard he's been hospitalized, probably by one of his rivals.
Which hospital was Marquet taken to?
The Hagenmeyer Clinic, in the Avenue des Hérissons.
Why was Marquet known as the Mole of Montmartre?
Because he lived in Montmartre, I suppose.
Yeah, but why the mole?
I don't know. Maybe he ruined people's lawns.
See you later, Sergeant. It was just some police paperwork, a search warrant. No, monsieur. No et no. Okay, okay. Pardon me. Oui, monsieur? Can you give me any further information about the tripod?
Certainly, monsieur. It's infamous. That tripod... That...
Thanks for your help. There was no sign of the crew of the ambulance. The guy seemed to be practicing his air of authority. Today, he was working on his withering stare. The woman managed to look overworked and hassled, though she didn't appear to be doing anything. Excuse me.
Yes, sir?
Is this the Hagenmeyer Clinic?
That's correct.
I thought I was in a garden center.
Oh, the plans. They were my idea. A little greenery to evoke the spirit of nature. How may I help you?
I'm here to see Jacques Marquet.
Oh, yes. Are you related to our client, sir?
No, I'm conducting a private investigation.
Then I can't help you.
So, do I get to see Marquet before the funeral?
That attitude will get you nowhere. My instructions were quite clear. No one gets to see Marquet. So unless you can prove you're a relative or a close acquaintance, you're wasting your time here.
Has Marquet been visited by a man in a clown costume?
Oh, no.
You haven't seen a man in disguise?
Well, there's Theodore the Bear. He comes every Thursday to entertain the children. Personally, I think he scares them half to death in that crummy old bear suit. If I was stuck on my back with tubes in every orifice, he's the last person I'd want to see.
Has Marquet had a visit from a pair of gangsters?
I should hope not. Can you describe them?
A thin guy who looks like a weasel and his friend, the gorilla.
Sounds as if they escaped from the zoo.
Have you seen this man here at the clinic?
No, sir. And I never forget a face.
I'd like to shake you by the hand.
Don't be fresh, young man.
Thanks for your help, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Hi, my name's George Stobbart.
Really? If you wish to make an appointment, see the receptionist.
I'm looking for a guy named Jacques Marquet.
In which department does he work?
He doesn't. He's a patient.
I see. You do realize there are strict policies regarding visiting hours, don't you?
This is important. I have to talk to Marquet urgently.
We make no exceptions to the rules.
It's a matter of life and death.
The well-oiled running of this hospital is a matter of life and death. That's why we have rules.
I think I ought to warn you that Marquet is not what he seems.
Explain yourself.
He's in league with a bunch of guys who want to take over the world.
Nonsense. Besides, Marquet's employers have paid in advance for one of our most exclusive private rooms.
Could you tell me who Marquet's employers are?
Certainly not.
Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
No, sir, I do not.
May I have the honor of shaking you by the hand?
You may not. I don't encourage physical contact between my staff.
Thanks for your help. Excuse me.
Yes, sir?
Thanks for your help, ma'am.
You're welcome.
I felt a little guilty as I tried the door, like I was about to rob a grave. I gripped the handle with an involuntary tremble in my hand and pulled. The door was locked. The door. Excuse me.
Yes, sir?
Look at this ID pass.
So you're Merlin. Marquet's been asking for you.
For me?
Yes. He was shouting your name when they brought him in here. Now, let me see. He was on Ward B12, as I recall. Oh, he's being transferred to... Oh, dear. He's on Ward J2. That's Nurse Grendel's ward.
What's so bad about Nurse Grendel?
She runs that ward like a South American prison.
Keeping a well-disciplined ward isn't a crime, is it?
Well-disciplined. In the discipline and punishment stakes, she'd whip the butt off the Marquis de Sade. Everything, I mean everything, is done to a strict routine. 6 o'clock alarm call, 6:10 bowel movements, and woe betide anyone who doesn't have a result. Those patients of hers are like Pavlova's dogs.
She sounds like a real nightmare.
And then some.
If Nurse Grendel is that bad, how come the authorities tolerate her?
She's like part of the furniture.
I was beginning to get the picture. This woman was jealous, with a big green capital J. How do I find Nurse Grendel's ward?
Down the corridor on the left, turn right at the senior consultant's washroom. Right again at the executive coffee lounge. Bear left past the administrator's sauna. And turn left at the end. That's J2. And good luck.
Thanks for your help, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Excuse me, sir. Thanks for your help. As I turned the corner, I saw the source of the hellish noise which echoed through the corridors. It was an industrial polishing machine with an odd-looking guy in tow. He looked blissfully happy, for no apparent reason. Hello.
What's that?
I said hello.
Oh, hiya.
I'd like to talk to you for a minute.
That's what I thought you said. Don't look so down in the mouth. No matter how bad things seem, I never let life get on top of me.
Oh, yeah? What's your secret?
Why, it's easy. All you have to do is smile and whistle this little tune.
You know what? If you start whistling, I'll bust you in the teeth.
It's a deal.
Do you know where I'd find a patient called Marquet?
No, I'm not allowed on the wards with Mr. Shiny.
Have you seen any unsavory characters lurking about in the quarters?
No, sir, I haven't, but I've got nothing to worry about. What's that, Mr. Shiny? You'd take good care of the rascals, I'll bet you would. With a friend like him, I've no fear of oppressors.
It must be a great comfort.
He is.
Would Mr. Shiny be your polishing machine by any chance?
Please, don't call him that. He's more of a friend than a machine. I've had Mr. Shiny for 3 years, and he's never let me down once.
How come you got so attached to a polishing machine?
I asked you not to call him that. He's got a name, you know.
Yeah, Mr. Shiny. It's just that...
You think it's odd, don't you? I don't mind. The rest of the staff think I'm twisted. I heard them snorking behind me back when I gave Mr. Shiny his weekly pull-through.
Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
Who is it?
That's what I'm asking you. Have you seen him before?
How should I know? You haven't told me who he is.
Take a look at the photo.
Yeah, okay.
Now, have you seen him before?
No.
See you later.
Yeah, take care now.
The door didn't have a sign or label or any kind of identification.
Hey now, you can't go in there.
How come?
I'm responsible for the contents of that cupboard.
Oui, monsieur.
Is this Ward J2?
It is, but you're not supposed to be here. We have strict rules about visiting hours.
Can't you make an exception? I've come all the way from California.
You must speak to the doctor.
I can't wait that long. What if he snuffs it?
You can't talk like that here. This is a hospital. You will have to leave.
As I tugged the plug out of the socket, the polishing machine coughed, spluttered, and died.
Mr. Shiny, what's wrong, pal?
Good afternoon, doctor. The patients are ready for your inspection, doctor.
Thank you, nurse.
You'll need this, doctor.
She gave me a long, narrow metal box and a stunning smile. Thanks.
Could you take a look at the client in bed number 3 now? His name is Eric Sopmarsh.
Do you have a patient named Marquet on this ward?
Oui, monsieur. He is in the private room at the end of the ward. He has been placed in strict isolation.
Why is Marquet in quarantine?
If you wish to know more, you'll have to speak to Herr Hagenmeyer. All I know is that Marquet's room is strictly out of bounds.
Do you know who paid for Marquet's room?
No, of course I don't.
Preferential treatment like that must cost an arm and a leg.
That's not my concern, monsieur.
Do you have any clowns on the ward?
Why, yes, we do. A professional clown.
I'll bet he lightens the place up.
Hardly. Monsieur Boissy has been in a coma for the last 3 months.
What's wrong with Boissy?
He was involved in a very nasty accident. A silly stunt involving a unicycle. His current condition is due to post-traumatic shock. It's unlikely he'll ever perform as a clown again.
It's an ill wind that blows nobody any good. Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
No, I don't.
What is this device?
It's for taking the patient's blood pressure, doctor.
Thank you, nurse.
Au revoir, monsieur.
This guy didn't look sick to me. He didn't have spots or stitches, and he certainly didn't have a fever. Hello? Anybody home?
Who are you?
My name is Dr. Stobbart, and I'm here to steer you down the rocky road to recovery.
Dr. Monroe said there was no cure for what I've got.
Your problem is you stayed in bed too long.
Are you sure you're a qualified doctor?
You better believe it. What's your impression of Nurse Grendel?
She's a very efficient young woman.
Efficient? You make her sound like a vacuum cleaner.
I've no complaints.
What can you tell me about Marquet?
He's the man in the private room, isn't he? That room was mine before I was tossed out like a common squatter.
Do you know what's wrong with Marquet?
They won't even say what's wrong with me. Tell me, Doctor, what's your opinion?
It's too early to say.
But I've been here for 3 months.
The woman in reception described Nurse Grendel as a monster.
Well, that's simply not true. She's quite strict, but that's her job, isn't it? You've got to have discipline in a place like this.
I'm going to take your blood pressure.
Why?
I'm a doctor. It's my job. Seems fine to me.
You're not doing it right.
Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
No, Doctor. Who is it?
A cold-blooded killer. I'll come back later.
Doctor!
What is it?
You haven't taken my blood pressure.
Seems fine to me.
You're not doing it right.
Of course I am.
No, you're not. Dr. Monroe never did it like that.
I can't take a satisfactory reading while you're excited like this. I'll come back later. Pardon me, nurse.
Oui, monsieur.
Thank you, nurse.
Au revoir, monsieur.
Oh, Doctor.
What now?
You didn't finish taking my blood pressure.
Okay, let's try again.
You don't have the first idea what you're doing, do you?
I'll come back when you've recovered your manners. Hi, my name's George Stobbart.
Yes, sir? Pleased to meet you, sir.
Call me George if you like.
Are you sure?
Yeah, that's my name.
My name's Benoit, but everyone calls me Bunny.
Bunny?
That's right. I used to have this cute habit when I was a kid.
Keep it to yourself, Benoit. Do you know anything about a patient named Marquet?
No, sir, I don't know much about any of the patients.
I've never met a doctor who admits that he's only human.
I'm only a trainee, sir. I'm sure I'll get the hang of things.
Do you know the nurse on Ward J2?
No, monsieur. This is my first day here. I can't wait to get my hands dirty. I was talking about treating my first patient, of course. I didn't mean I'd get my hands dirty with a nurse.
Shut up, Benoit.
Okay, sir.
Here, take this pressure gauge.
Thank you, sir. What do you want me to do with it?
Well, keep it safe until I think of something. Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
No, monsieur. I've never seen him before.
See you later.
Right.
Excuse me, sir.
Aha! Just the man. You must be the new boy.
Yeah, I must be.
Well, stop wandering about and make yourself useful. Bunny, come here, boy. This is Benoit, my nephew. Can I trust you to look after him? He is fresh out of medical school. It will open his eyes to see a real doctor on the job.
I'll bet.
Show him around. Let him see some real suffering.
Hey, Benoit.
Yes, sir?
Do you still have that gauge I gave you?
Ah, yes. What do you want me to do with it?
Use it on Eric Sopmarsh.
Okay.
He sat like a statue of a sack of potatoes, but the cop's eyes were as watchful as a hawk's. I'm Dr. Stobbart.
Bonjour, docteur.
Have you heard of a guy called Marquet?
He's in quarantine, doc, right behind this here door.
Marquet is just the man I wanted to see.
I wouldn't go in there if I was you. He has anthrax.
I have to visit my patient.
What for?
Routine. I have to check he's still breathing.
What if he's not?
I'll sign the certificate and register his bed as vacant.
That's a cold and distant attitude to death.
Well, I've been institutionalized to the point of godlike aloofness.
The white coat suits you.
Thanks. Have you seen any suspicious characters on the ward?
Yeah, I have.
A gorilla and a weasel?
No, this was a tatty old bear.
How was the bear acting suspiciously?
Well, he was wearing a homburg.
Is that against the law?
No, but it's pretty weird for a bear.
Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
No, I have never seen him before.
Catch you later, officer.
Au revoir, doc.
Marquet?
Yes, I am Marquet. I've been expecting you.
You have?
Well, what are you waiting for? Get it over with.
I just want to know what I should do with the gem.
The Lohmar gem.
Yeah, right here in my pocket.
I thought you were one of the assassins.
Not me. I never inhaled.
So, you were sent in my place?
Yeah. You could hardly make the trip to Ireland in your condition. What should I do with the gem?
Deliver it to the Grand Master. Quickly tell him that I have found the tripod right here in Paris.
What, you have it?
Not yet, but it's being taken care of. I hired a couple of stooges with a flair for petty crime.
Would that be Flap and Guido by any chance?
You know them as for Klausner. He has gone off to Syria on a wild goose chase.
They have geese in Syria?
He has a theory about the location of the...
That's enough excitement for one day, Monsieur Marquet. What are you doing here?
Talking to this patient, of course.
Monsieur Marquet is my patient. If Herr Hagenmeyer was to hear that...
Okay, I'm going. I'd learned all I could from Marquet anyhow.
Ah, there you are, sir. I was just coming to look for you. I finished with your pressure gauge.
Thanks, Bunny.
What's that noise? It sounds as if someone's having a cardiac arrest.
It's all right. The doctor's in there with him.
Are you sure he was a doctor?
Oui, monsieur. He showed me his ID. It was Dr. Braille.
There's no Dr. Braille working here.
He's an imposter! The door's locked. Help me, officer.
Stand back, monsieur.
Hello, George.
I found Jacques Marquet.
Did he talk?
Yeah, he talked. For the very last time.
He's dead.
Yeah, killed in cold blood by a bogus doctor.
That's despicable. What kind of guy would pass himself off as a doctor and take advantage of a dying man? Was it Khan?
No, I don't know who he was, but it certainly wasn't Khan. He got away, out the window. Have you ever heard of the Hashiashin?
No.
Marquet said that they were his biggest enemy.
His biggest enemy was the bogus doctor.
Don't remind me. That guy was evil. He had wild, staring eyes like a dead fish. I'll never trust a doctor again. Do you think the assassin was responsible for killing Marquet?
I don't think so. He could have finished him off the first time. Besides, Marquet would have recognized him.
He was pumped to the gills with sedatives. He wouldn't have recognized the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse unless they'd introduced themselves. I guess I'd better go back and talk to that weirdo.
Which one, Rousseau or Sergeant Mou? Oh, but you're referring to Andre.
I'll let you work it out. He was a thin-faced, pallid guy with a questionable taste in outlandish clothes. My mother used to dress like that. I beg your pardon. Are you André Lobineau?
That's me. You want my autograph?
No. I was told you may be able to help me.
Help?
My name is George Stobbart. I'd like your professional opinion.
Well, okay. Shoot.
Does the name Montfaucon mean anything to you?
Sure. It was the most grisly spectacle in Paris until the Revolution.
A public toilet?
Montfaucon was the place of execution for many thousands. A dark temple of death, with row upon row of arches, each one framing a grim exhibit. Scores of rotting corpses swung on creaking rope, while the crows devoured their flesh.
That explains the image of the hanged man. I found a reference to Montfaucon in Ireland, in a village called Lochmarn.
Lochmarn? That's where Pegram was digging.
That's right. He'd left the excavation before I arrived. Do you know Pegram well?
Not really. I met him at a conference. I would have liked to talk to him in depth, but I didn't have time.
When was this?
Oh, back in the summer, July, I think.
Where was the site of Montfaucon?
To the northeast, near the Canal Saint-Martin, but there's nothing there now. The old gibbet was torn down during the Revolution.
Have you ever heard of the Hashashin?
Why, yes. It was a radical Muslim sect whose name became synonymous with murder. It was formed in 11th century Persia, shortly before the Crusades.
At roughly the same time as the Templars.
Yes. They gave a new word to our language. Assassini. The assassins.
How did the assassins get their name?
From the legends surrounding the secrets of their initiation rites. A young man who sought to join the sect was given hashish until he drifted into dreams. He awoke to find himself in a fabulous garden with everything he could wish for. The freshest water, the most delicious food, the choicest hash, and the most delectable women imaginable.
Cool. Do you have the address?
I haven't finished the story. There was a price to pay for this taste of paradise.
Wouldn't you just know it?
The young man would wake the next day to find himself back in the real world. He was told that he'd been given a glimpse of the heaven reserved for holy martyrs. A heaven he would enjoy for eternity if he was willing to join the Hashashin.
How did the assassins operate?
Well, as I explained, the new recruits would be only too willing to die for the cause. They'd be instructed in the use of the dagger, poisons, and disguise. Then, the Grand Master of the sect would name an enemy of Allah.
And they'd stop at nothing to eliminate that enemy.
You got it. They were fearless and deadly.
Does the cult of the assassins still exist?
Take a look around at the world today. You tell me.
I think you ought to know that the tripod is going to be stolen.
The Lochman tripod? No.
It's true. I can give you a description of the thieves.
Before the supposed event has taken place?
I heard them planning the raid.
They're wasting their time. The tripod is protected by a state-of-the-art alarm system.
Well, don't say I didn't warn you. Why don't you loan the tripod to me for safekeeping?
Because I'd never see it again.
Well, don't you trust me?
It's not a question of trust, George. That tripod is hundreds of years old and extremely fragile.
I get your point. I'd like your opinion on a medieval manuscript.
Vraiment? Do you have it with you?
No, it's too fragile. And besides, there are certain people who'd stop at nothing to get their hands on it.
Intriguing. Do you have a copy of the text?
There isn't much. Only a few Latin phrases. I was kind of hoping you'd help decipher the pictures.
Without seeing the manuscript, that's a tall order.
Just tell me one thing. What does the image of two men riding on the same horse suggest to you?
The Knights Templar. Does the Templar seal appear on this manuscript? I'd love to see that for myself.
Can you tell me anything about the Knights Templar?
I sure can, Georgie. Soldiers, diplomats, mercenaries, monks, bankers, you name it, the Templars fit the bill. The greatest fighting force in Christendom, the militia of Christ.
Jeez. How did the Templars get their name?
From the building in which they set up their headquarters. The King of Jerusalem gave them part of a mosque on the Temple Mount. It was said to have been the site of the original Temple of Solomon. The order became known first as the Knights of the Temple, and later as the Knights Templar.
You're a mine of information, Andre.
Glad to be of help, Georgie.
How come the Templars became so wealthy?
There was a constant stream of new recruits to their ranks, many from noble families. They were required to swear a sacred oath of poverty, chastity, and obedience. So, their money, goods, and lands were donated to the order. The Templars soon held land in France, Scotland, England, Spain, most of Europe, in fact. The poor Knights of Christ became the wealthiest power in Christendom.
Is it true the treasure of the Knights Templar was never found?
Who knows? So little knowledge of what really happened remains. Or, if it does, the truth has never been made public.
What do you mean by that?
The Templars have attained mythological status, like the King Arthur of the Britons. There are people even now who say the Templars still exist.
Do you think that's likely?
No, not for a minute.
The manuscript is being looked after by a friend.
In Paris?
Yeah, not far from here, in fact.
Well, just give me the address and I'll come round and take a look.
I'm not so sure about that. Maybe I should check with her first.
A female friend?
Yeah, she's a woman. This friend who has the manuscript?
Oui, the anonymous girlfriend.
She lives at 361 Rue Jarry.
Ah, I know it well. I'll drop by. just as soon as I can.
Does the guy in this photograph look familiar to you?
No.
What do you make of this?
It's the biggest gemstone I've ever seen. Where did you get it?
From Professor Pegram's messenger boy.
Did Pegram find this on his dig?
Yeah, the site where this was found was a Templar castle. Do you think it could be part of the Templar treasure?
No, I shouldn't think so. You're not one of those crazies who think the Templars still exist, are you?
Well, I try to keep an open mind on the matter. Thanks for your help, Andre.
You're welcome.
Hello, George.
Do you think the assassin was responsible for killing Marquet?
I don't think so. He could have finished him off the first time. Besides, Marquet would have recognized him.
He was pumped to the gills with sedatives. He wouldn't have recognized the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse unless they'd introduced themselves.
Oh, by the way, I had a visit from André Lobineau.
Oh, yeah. I hope you didn't mind me giving him your address.
Not at all. It was lovely to see him again. He was over the moon when I showed him the manuscript. It's not often he gets that excited. He made a sketch of the knight's crest to take back to the museum. I believe he's identified the family who bear that crest.
I sure hope so. I'd better get back to the quest.